Hello everyone, this is Bob. Spoiler warning. If you haven't listened to Welcome to Night Vale episode 69, don't listen to this one. I mean, my show has always had a whole bunch of spoilers and references to the main show, but unfortunately this one has a big one. So if you're behind, don't listen to this episode until after episode 69. This one happens between episode 69 and 70A. That's about as big of a warning as I can give you. At this point, you're on your own. At any rate, on with the show.
This message is for the man who is definitely sick. Hi, it's Croker again. I just wanted to call and say our drive together yesterday was magical. I loved every minute of it. I know we didn't talk much and you were busy with all your errands, but I still meant the world to me. And I love your voice. And you were singing along to Sabotage by the Beastie Boys. I know you couldn't hear me in the back, but I sang along as well. In fact, I made that song my new ringtone. By the way, did you know that your trunk has a glow-in-the-dark pull tab that opens the trunk up from the inside? That is a sign of quality. I'm glad to see that you bought a car whose manufacturer is safety conscious. Catch you later!
The number you have dialed has been changed.
The klaxon began to wail. The klaxon began to wail.
My fellow Americans, I'm pleased to tell you today that I've signed legislation that will outlaw Russia forever. We begin bombing in 5 minutes.
The klaxon began to wail.
Welcome again to another installment of Good Morning Night Vale tonight. I am Robert York, your host, normally bringing you through the midnight hour to the early morning, but tonight we are starting much earlier than usual in order to cover a special event. The Night Vale Tourism Board managed to arrange for the Southwest Regional Wine Tasters Association to hold its annual wine tasting event here in Night Vale. Hundreds of tourists have come to town to taste various brands of wines and select which one will go on to the national competition. However, the event conflicts with the annual Night Vale High School play, which cannot be rescheduled because it has to be held at the alignment of Aldebaran. By decree of the school board president, the play is being held at the end of the wine tasting event, so all tourists will be given free tickets to attend. Apparently, the new drama instructor of Night Vale High School, David Cronenberg, has been working with the students under his direction to put on a play dating back to 1895 called The King in Yellow. The actual wine tasting is going on right now, so you might want to head down and check it out. I'm sure a great deal of parents are also getting ready for the play, so that's starting at midnight, as is traditional. You might want to put off a little bit and get a rest and perhaps sharpen your tools if you're going to be just going to the play. I'll be sending 2 of my interns down to watch the play and give us a review as time allows, so we can all look forward to that. However, before we go any further, we have a very important announcement. There's been a change in the organization of our show. From this point forward, I will no longer have a co-host. That's right, I'm going solo. Co-host Severed Monster has been promoted. That's right, up until now I've been my own program manager due to a lack of funding, but management has finally deferred to my judgment and is honoring my request for additional staffing by buying a small dirigible and a bicycle horn, both of which will be attached to my co-host, and he will be my new supervisor. So goodbye to co-host Severed Monster Head and say hello to Supervisor Severed Monster Head, who I might add has made it quite clear that there will be no hard feelings towards me over the whole Vorpal vanity table leg thing. So before we go any further with the show, Supervisor Severed Monster Head would like to say a few words. Wise words, Supervisor Severed Monster Head. Wise words indeed. And now a word from our sponsors. Under the terms of his release, Big Rico's is proud to announce that they have found a substitute for the wheat and wheat byproducts that they used to use in their pizza dough. I of course speak of the new Ancient Grains pizza. Yes, Big Rico's Pizzeria is proud to announce the new Ancient Grains pizza. It's the only pizza to get two, thumbs up from the hooded figures. It tastes great and is extraordinarily healthy for you because it's made from ancient grains. So the next time you head down to buy your slice of government-mandated pizza at Big Rico's, just remember... What? No. No. Maybe I didn't make myself perfectly clear there. Oh, hell to the no. Never. No way, not a chance. I will not eat Rico's pizza with green eggs and ham. I will not eat it. Rob I am. How long have you been living in Night Vale? This pizza is practically screaming at you, "Don't eat me!" In fact, if I listen closely to this slice of pizza, I can hear the wail of 1,000 damned souls chanting something at me that might be, "Don't eat me," but frankly, I'm not up to date on my ancient Mesopotamian languages. Still, when your pizza is talking to you in Sumerian, that's a bad sign. What part of no don't you understand? The N or the O? I will not eat this pizza on air. I won't eat it anywhere. There is no force on earth that could make me eat this. Are you absolutely insane? It's made from ancient grains. Do you hear that echo every time I say that? That's not a sound effect. I'm betting that with one bite, just one, I'd be vomiting up a continuous stream of live bees. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that. You're telling me it's safe. Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that. Wow, gee. Well, since you're telling me it's safe, then I guess it is. Oh, if it's so safe, you won't mind taking the first bite, will ya? Oh, here, go on. Go on. Impress me. Yeah, that's right. All right, yeah. There you go. Oh, okay. Yeah, well, that was how do you feel? Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait. Yeah, I thought so. There you go. I mean it. Go into the hall. Take your swarm of puke bees with you. Just you. Get them out of here. Just go. Am I the only one with a brain around here? All right, let's finish this gig up, okay? Let's pick it up from where I got interrupted. Backtrack here. Okay. All right. On 1, 3, 2, 1. Just remember, no one makes a slice like Big Rico's. No one. This has been a word from our sponsor. And cut. If somebody can get a can of Raid or something, like they're coming in under the door. Come on, for crying out loud. But I have to do everything around here. You just check out the closet, okay? And now, a new segment for our program, Listen and Learn with Mr. Science. Starring Randolph Carter Science, the town's resident expert scientist, who's been here forever, telling everybody everything they ever want to know about anything. Not that anyone wants to know anything. There's no need to ever go to another scientist, not that there ever was another scientist in town, because Mr. Science will teach you all that you could ever want to know about science.
For today's program, we are going to be talking about the miracle of birth. As you all know, birth is the only reliable way we have to remove a fetus from the inside of a mother. And it is often risky and perilous. But the question remains, why do we do it this way? Why do we, humans, use such an unreliable and dangerous method of reproduction? Lots of other species reproduce by a process known as budding, where they simply grow the child on the body of the parent. And when it is matured enough, it splits off of its own accord. When you reproduce by this method, you create an exact duplicate of yourself. In effect, you have achieved a form of immortality. Why, every bacteria today is technically billions of years old. Wouldn't you like to be billions of years old? Wouldn't you like to live long enough to bear witness to the heat death of the universe? Well, you can't. You know why? Because if you ever do figure out how to do it, someone comes along and takes it from you and puts it in the Museum of Forbidden Technologies. That's why. And if you question it, they answer with a cornucopia of mind-altering drugs injected directly into your neck while being strapped in a chair before making you to watch a talking trout voiced by Don Knotts. Why not us? Why? Why?
And okay. Thanks for your time, Mr. Science. We'll see you again really soon.
No. Not the ghost of Mr. Chicken. Anything but the ghost of Mr. Chicken.
And now, letters from the... what the... huh? Oh, you gotta be... You know what? I'm getting sick of this. Hey, you. Yeah. You know who I'm talking to? You. Yeah. You. Yeah. One of our 6 listeners. You. You want to keep doing this to me? Oh, I'm going to teach you a lesson this time. All right, listeners. Everybody else, listen up. There's this federal law called the Freedom of Information Act. All right. After a certain amount of time, documents become declassified and the government has to release the information. Most government officials in Night Vale refer to that document as toilet paper, but they still have to pay it lip service. Well, it turns out such a document came up from the sheriff's secret police, and they have to release the information. I have about 8 pages of vague threats and doublespeak to rattle off to you to stop you from listening. And the reason being is they want to release the information at approximately 3 a.m. when nobody is listening, and only release it once after scaring everybody into turning off their radios, so they meet the, quote, requirements, unquote. Then they could say, we released the info, we announced when it was going to be released, and now. Not our problem if you missed it. Yeah, right. The announcement is actually in this hand, okay? It's supposed to be released in exactly 4 seconds after I finish this document. So I'm holding that announcement in my hand, and the one I'm supposed to read off, in fact, the entire document I'm about to read to you, apparently is written in interpretive dance. Now look, I am a legitimate radio host, okay? This is supposed to be a real show. I am not some government shill, because you sure as glow aren't paying me enough to be one. If you were actually paying me, then you'd get good service. But no, you're trying to get me to do all this crap for free, you cheap bastards. I might be a wage slave, but I expect to be a well-paid wage slave. Well, guess what? I can read interpretive dance. It's the official Night Vale language, after all, and like every other loyal citizen of this fine metropolis, I learned to read and shake my moneymaker in our official language. So, basically, here's the deal, listener. If you want to avoid trouble, turn off your radio for about 15 minutes. Otherwise, hold on to your hats, folks, because things are about to get real. As in, I'm actually going to tell you something serious for a change. And maybe next time, that guy who's listening there and monitoring the radio will think about sending a little payola to a certain radio personality, because if you cut me out of the loop, this is what you get. All right. Turn back the clock, listeners. Only in your mind, not actually turn back the clock. If you did that, it would seriously make planning the rest of your day difficult, especially if everybody turned back an arbitrary amount. But figuratively, turn back the clock to just after the Third American Revolution, or the Second Civil War, depending on which side of the conflict you most identify with, or which set of chronologies you choose to accept as empirical fact. This is before they installed the political machines in Hidden Gorge. In fact, the following events are the reason for the creation, installation, and obfuscation of Hidden Gorge. Back then they had things called elections, but they did not yet have the cameras everywhere that made voting by hand raising possible. So they had something called a ballot box. You put your votes in and they were counted, except the process could be corrupted and the ballots could be changed, and they were. Now usually this was done for everybody's benefit to make sure the right person got elected, but somebody got hold of the system, things got changed around, and well, I'm afraid history only records the names of the winners. Sheriff Sorrel Brooke won the election, with his 3 main deputies being James Best, Sonny Schroyer, and Rick Hurst. What nobody knew is that they were all under the control of a criminal entity who was known only as the Balladeer. The Balladeer had near omniscient powers of observation. In many respects, he was like the faceless old woman who secretly lives in your home, except that he seemed to exist only as a disembodied voice. He did have the power to stop time and make snarky comments. We were fortunate when time was frozen, he had no power to actually change anything, but he could often stop somebody just before some horrible fate. Then he would mock them at great length, drawing strength and power from their suffering as they anticipated events to come. And so it was that the Balladeer engineered the election of his puppet sheriff department. Of course, 4 men cannot cover an entire town as large as Night Vale, so they hired a number of goons who were little more than thugs. They began a reign of terror, torturing Night Vale citizens by putting them in impossible situations so the Balladeer could freeze time and then feast upon their pain. During this time, they took to terrorizing a local manufacturer of ethanol by the name of Denver Pyle. After nearly killing the man and repeatedly arresting him on trumped-up charges, he called upon his friends for help. 4 people answered the call: Tom Wopat, John Schneider, Catherine Bach, and a 4th unknown person. They started a resistance movement. At first it involved smuggling much-needed supplies into Night Vale because nothing got shipped into town without the sheriff's department getting a rather large percentage of the business. However, they quickly determined that this simply wasn't going to work. The Balladeer simply knew too much. They needed a solution. All the fancy driving in the world wasn't going to save the day, so the solution they settled upon was rather drastic. One of the group had to completely wipe themselves from existence, yet keep existing. Tricky to pull off, but not impossible. Never again would anyone be able to remember his name or his face or his identity. That man is the man who would one day become the person we all believe is the sheriffs of the secret police. Sort of. We're not sure. So powerful was the process of occlusion that nobody is quite sure about anything about the sheriff to this day. That man, we assume it's a man. Not to be sexist, but let's just assume he's male for the sake of argument. That man then found a way to join the sheriff's department. From within, he created the secret police force. Over time and through attrition, they managed to finally wrest control of the sheriff's department from the Balladeer before trapping him in an undisclosed location, locking him away beyond thought and memory. And so the sheriff's department was disbanded and the secret police took over. Honestly, they are a much better sheriff's department than the original. So, that an election could never be bought again, he worked with Mayor Pamela Winchell to install the political machines of Hidden Gorge, and ever since then we've had the most horrible form of government possible, with the only exception being every other form of government out there. And, well, that's it in a nutshell. I glossed over some parts here: vague prophetic statements, warnings, instructions to never blah blah blah, or we're all doomed, Usual boilerplate. Seriously, it's a really boring document, so I figured I'd just give you the gist of it, save us all some time. I really don't know what they were so concerned about, actually, now that we didn't get over it. So, well, this has been Letters from the Listeners. And now for our newest segment, Town Talk. The segment where we take the time to talk to both famous and ordinary personages around town who are obviously insomniacs because nobody else would be up at this hour. For our first segment, we'll be interviewing the little-known man who stares at you silently while you sleep. He's taken time out of his busy schedule to come onto the show and stand in the corner while apparently dripping water on my floor. I like the whole hulking frontman from Danzig thing you got going there. That look doesn't work for most people, but sir, you managed to pull it off. Now, is it Mr. Sleep or can I call you Man Who Stares? Right. Mr. Sleep it is. So, I read in the release from your agent that it says here you interned under the faceless old woman who secretly hides in our homes. I'm sure our listeners are very curious. What's the faceless old woman like to work with? No comment. Right. Understandable. She is a private woman prone to horrific retribution against those who have wronged her, so I noticed that there's quite a puddle forming under you. At first I thought you might be sweating excessively, but I noticed you seem to be giving off an aura of soul-biting cold. So in actuality, it appears that water is simply condensing on you in large quantities, like a cold drink left on the counter. Considering the high humidity down here in the steam tunnels, it seems obvious why, now that I'm watching this process firsthand. Is this a problem you run into often? You know, I know you silently watch people while they sleep, but I'm not sleeping right now, so I'm sure it's okay to make some noise now. Maybe actual words. I'll take grunting. Grunting is fine. Perhaps a hand gesture or two. A non-committal shrug. A nod of the head. Perhaps those long ribbons of hair that drape over your face, neck, and shoulders like blackened dying seaweed could twitch a little for me. Once for yes, twice for no. Right. So, Mr. Sleep is, turning away, and now he's walking over. No, that's not an exit. That's the supply closet. There isn't any way out of there, and you're going to lurk in my closet staring at me for the rest of my show, aren't you? Yes, I can see you peering out of the crack. That's fine, sir. You can do that. I'm sure all the toilet paper they store in there will soak up the water nicely. So I guess that's it for Town Talk. My life is awful, and if I don't keep laughing, I'm going to cry. Phil, either shoot me and put me out of my misery or play the next segment. I don't care which. Surprise me. I hear things are picking up at the play. We take you live to our interns on location.
Well, the ritual concealed in the play has finally been completed, and a flaw in the universe has opened up from out of space and allowed the King in Yellow to finally arrive.
I'm sorry, I know this is a high school play, but the arrival and delivery of this climactic scene has just been boring as heck. I expected more flair from an eldritch demiurge.
I agree. The jokes have fallen flat. The timing has been off. I really can't blame the students on this one. They clearly have been trying. It's the material that they've been given to work with that's the problem.
The King in Yellow is declaring a new age of pain, and that all will bow before him, blah blah blah. Oh my glow cloud, I just want to stab myself in the ears because this is so cliche.
Wait. He appears to be trapped. Someone inscribed a containment circle on the stage and concealed it under a tarp. The director seems puzzled as the King in Yellow struggles to break free and wreak havoc on our little town.
I don't think this is in the script. Oh, 15-year-old Hercules pulled out a rune-encrusted spear he kept hidden on the stage. He just stabbed the King in Yellow.
Every kid on stage is pulling out a ritualized weapon of some sort. Oh, we have a hijacking by the cast. The director is furiously flipping through his flesh-bound tome, trying to figure out what in the abyss is going on.
The King in Yellow is wounded but not down. He's opening a portal to the outer darkness and summoning the endless unholy hordes that should not be.
A few have come through, but most seem to be holding back. They seem to have noticed the portal opens into Night Vale and clearly remember what happened last time. The king is summoning harder, but the horrors are resisting. What horrors did arrive are trying desperately to get back into the portal.
One of them is screaming and stabbing himself to death. Yes, that multi-dimensional monstrosity in the corner is, a vicious verbal blow by ninth grader Allison Kim. That's going to leave a mark.
The entire Greek chorus is moving in and performing a flanking operation on the pocket of that which should not be. The unknowable horrors are trying to get out of the theater. They are clawing at the emergency door in the back. The Greek chorus is dragging them back in. The horrors are flailing about ineffectually and chittering for mercy.
You almost feel sorry for them, but then you remember that showing pity is punishable by being shackled to the tree of woe. So instead you force a smile and rejoice loudly in hopes that nobody notices your moment of weakness.
Eric Woolley has stripped down to a loincloth. Where did he get that wild sand dung? Is he stabbing it? He is tearing it open and letting the ichor spray all over his chest. Why yes, he's carving the runes of challenge directly into his flesh. Why, I believe he is enacting the ancient Enochian ritual of single combat against the King in Yellow.
His parents must be so proud. The crowd is eating this up. The crowd is going wild. The crowd is beating their chests and hooting. The crowd is sharpening sticks. The crowd is discovering fire.
Not everyone. It seems most of our visiting friends from out of town aren't really getting into the swing of things.
I believe the phrase you are looking for is frozen in fear.
You know, what's the point of being a tourist if you aren't willing to experience a little of the local culture?
I just hope they all read the back of their tickets. If they fail to live up to their obligations.
Please. Who'd buy a ticket without completely reading the fine print on the back?
Someone who wanted a fate worse than death.
So true. Oh, the King in Yellow has failed to disrupt the ritual of single combat. He is bound to fight young. Oh, Eric is wasting no time. He just cut the King's hamstring. The King is staggering. Eric tossed a handful of dust in the King's face.
I believe that would be silver and cold iron filings mixed with the bone shavings from the skeletal remains of a saint.
Oh yeah, aisle 3 at the Ralph's, which is also a sponsor of this play. When you need to protect yourself from that which should not be, visit the pharmacy at your local Ralph's.
This fight is getting ugly.
The King is screaming and clawing at what passes for eyes.
I thought the King in Yellow couldn't feel pain.
Eric Woolley is clearly in a teaching mood. Oh my glow cloud. How did he even do that?
Oh, that was non-Euclidean, that's for sure.
Was that legal?
If this was a league match, no.
The King is staggering. He's back on his feet and regrown a few of his eyes. He's animating the shadows with the audience's own nightmares. He's standing. He's standing there staring at the animated nightmare shadows he just created. He's vomiting. Yes, it seems viewing the horrors of Night Vale citizens all at once like this has caused him to lose his lunch.
Eric is not wasting this hope. Oh, the King is down! The King is down! Parts of him at least! Other parts are up in the scaffolding. A great deal of fluid is all over the backdrop. In a stunning upset, Eric Woolley pulled out an amber shiv he kept concealed in his own flesh and finished off the King in Yellow.
This has been an exciting turn of events. I'm not sure if it will be enough, however.
True, up until this point the show has been rather lackluster. I'm not sure if the volcanic rock idol of Maui has been pleased.
Just to remind any listeners who may have joined us late, the whole point of these high school plays are to please Maui, the time shifter. I'm not sure if director Cronenberg understands his obligations or the penalties for failure. Considering he only seemed interested in sacrificing the audience to his Dark Lord, I don't think this play's going to make the cut this year.
And he didn't even do a good... Ooh, wait, look! The stone idol is waking up! The stone idol's eyes have turned purple!
I can feel the emotional grittiness from here.
Night Vale! David Cronenberg has been declared the Sin Eater! I repeat, David Cronenberg has been declared the Sin Eater!
He's going to have to move fast if he's going to survive. The audience does not have much time to sacrifice him on the idol before the curse takes effect. And nobody wants a repeat of 2003.
Oh yes, I remember. I'm still getting skin grafts.
If they fail, we will envy the dead, fellow intern. We will all envy the dead.
He's going for the emergency exit!
Everybody knows no one can escape the auditorium until intermission or the alignment ends.
The audience is moving in! David is climbing up the scaffolding, trying to find refuge in the lighting equipment. I can see his sweat from here.
Rather spry for an old guy.
It seems that our out-of-town guests are no longer paralyzed. However, they aren't joining in the hunt, but trying to get out the front door?
I don't get it. It's not like they actually have to do much to participate. They just have to shout their sins at the Sin Eater, like everyone else, and then make sure they complete the process before the Sin Eater is disemboweled, re-emboweled, then put through the final unbowling process.
They'll have to get a move on. This looks like it. Ooh, David Cronenberg slipped on some of the King in Yellow's viscera up on the scaffolding and fell to the stage. Looking at the angle that his lower extremities are positioned, I would say both his legs are broken.
Yup. He's weakly trying to crawl away and begging for mercy. His complicated, painful, yet mercifully short death at the altar of Malai the Time Shifter is a certainty at this point.
At this point, it's nothing but paperwork. Oh, look at Mr. and Mrs. Woolley up on the stage with their son. They're joining in the victory dance.
Well, why not? How often do you get the chance to play hopscotch in the chest cavity of a minor god?
I know a certain ninth grader that's going to be getting face tattoos, declaring him one of the warrior caste.
And the gruesome sacrifice is done, with plenty of time to spare.
You know, we might need to check, but I think we might have a new record this year.
We have filled our obligations, but it does not look like Malai the Time Shifter is all that happy about the audience members who failed to reverse their sins before the rite ended.
Ooh, this could go either way. The out-of-towners are clustered around the front exit, some still trying to open the doors.
An exercise in futility, if there ever was one.
Nope. One of them got it open. He's staring out into the infinite void between worlds that block the exit during... Whoops.
And he's gone. Back to the judgment of Malai the Time Shifter.
The eyes are swirling. The eyes are swirling. What color will it be, Night Vale? Cross your fingers and chant if you are near a blood circle.
Merciful death for all. Come on, merciful death.
I do not believe it. The eyes!
I cannot believe our luck, Night Vale. This is truly a high school play to remember.
Folks at home, Maui the Time Shifter has shown uncharacteristic mercy. This is one for the history books, folks. The audience has been spared.
Well, most of the audience. Those who do not divest themselves of sin are to be sacrificed for harvest.
A double win! I suspect that this year's crop of imaginary corn will be bountiful and a bright, bright red.
Yes, we're all winners this year. Oh, look, the parents are bringing the children down off the stage and having them join in. You know, it's just like one of those old ABC after-school specials.
With much more stabbing.
And exposed spleens.
I like spleens.
They do have a certain je ne sais quoi.
This is truly a magical moment, very magical, ripe with dark sorcery of the most foul sort, reality rendering madness. The end will come thrice, the voice that should not be shall raise the tool that never was up high. The light shall boil forth from the wounded earth. The voice must choose to fall, or all shall fall. Both his fate and destiny are one. The walls of time will crumble.
Hey,
Huh?
you're prophesizing again.
I was? Oh, sorry folks, where were we? At this point, it looks like it's all over but the screaming, which will linger, echoing for the next 9 days until the alignment is over and all are finally consumed with void.
I must say, the evening started out slow, but everything turned out okay in the end.
Nothing brings the family together quite like a terrible dark secret that haunts you until your dying day.
That's all, folks. Back to you, Rob.
Rob? Rob?
I think he's on his coffee break.
My heart beats like new love that's passing by. Though I try to fool myself, when you are near me then I realize just why my heart beats like a hammer every time I look at you. It's just because I love you like I do. It's just because I love you and I place no one above you. It's just because I love you like I do. I tell myself this isn't true love, it's just a new love that's passing by. Though I try to fool myself, when you are near me then I realize just why my heart beats like a hammer every time I look at you. It's just because I love you like I do. It's just because I love you and I place no one above you. It's just because I love you like I do. My heart beats like a hammer.
Listeners, have you ever just wanted to abdicate your responsibilities? I know that sounds like it's a question out of the blue, but follow me for a minute here. I have a parable about a woman. This woman had a nice life and a nice husband, and she always had been attractive. She picked the right guy and made all the right choices, but for some reason, she wasn't happy. She remembered her childhood as a time full of regrets. As she grew older, she lived a rather active life full of parties and drama, but her memories of the past were colored by current regrets. When she looked into a mirror, she saw herself, and she saw... was that a wrinkle? She worked out more. She used more skin products. Her husband always said nice things. But things changed, and they needed more money. He had said he would always take care of her. So he got a second job to make ends meet. After all, he loved her. And she loved him. But she felt that the passion was gone. Life had gotten dull. Living had become work. For her, there was no spark, just the daily grind. He came home between shifts to clean the litter box and sweep up the cat's molted spine ridges. It wasn't that he didn't spend time with her or do chores around the home. It was that he had very little time to spend at all. All the spontaneity in their life had gone. One day, someone flirted with her. She flirted back. They exchanged messages. She kept this hidden from her husband. She felt bad. She wanted to feel better, so she flirted more. Flirting felt good, even though deep down inside, she knew it was wrong. Eventually, she cheated on her husband. Every time she met with her lover, they had fun and passion. She felt guilty afterwards, but it was quickly replaced with the joy of anticipation for the next rendezvous. She explained it away as being fate, destiny, the plan of a higher power. She divested herself of culpability. One day, she screwed up. Her husband found out. He confronted her. He asked her a single word. Why? She replied, I don't know. It just happened. Listeners, nothing ever just happens. This is a world that is unfair and without justice. That is the price we pay for free will. Some people say free will is an illusion. I say it is not. It's just that often all the choices are horrible. Our lives are often a series of no-win situations where every choice leads to pain. But we do have a choice. My point is, being forced to choose between horrible outcomes is cruel, but giving up that choice is far worse. We do it all the time. We give up control to addictions. We give in to temptation. We stare longingly over the fence into our neighbor's yard and remark how there are hardly any scorpions. We watch TV and follow the advice of whoever echoes our beliefs and never turn to a channel that disagrees with us. After a while, we don't even question what our heroes tell us. We claim that it's destiny or fate or the will of a god or a stray blast of a mind control device. That last one does happen, but usually it's for your own good, like to keep you from walking out into traffic, or to make you burn every copy of any book that was ever written by FM 2030, or to wipe your mind of nostalgia for future events that have not yet occurred. You know, dangerous stuff. But even that might not be such a good idea. I know, I'm as big a proponent for the orbital mind control lasers as the next guy. But I do see the need for people to stop giving up control over their lives just because living is hard. Which brings me around to Cecil. I just learned on my coffee break that he was quitting. While my first reaction was to literally jump for joy, I accidentally jumped into a ceiling squid and had to break free before they pulled me up into the crawl space where the last sounds anyone would hear from me would be the soft, moist crack of my bones being ground to bits within keratin beaks. When you're moments from death, it really helps to put things in perspective. So I'd like to address this next part to Cecil. Cecil, I personally don't like you, professionally. I begrudgingly admit that you are a far better radio personality than I could ever hope to be. Yes, you've done much for Night Vale, but that doesn't make you any better than the rest of us. I think you've become spoiled. I think you've become addicted to the worst possible substance, love. Love is a heck of a drug. It can make us strong and can lead us to destruction. I think the problem isn't love itself. It's what we love that's the problem. It's what we think the object of our affection represents. It blinds us. It is wonderful. It takes over and makes us think that we no longer have a choice. Now, I listened to your announcement on my coffee break, and I heard you ask 3 questions that went unanswered. Allow me to take a shot. Your first question was, is Night Vale worth it? Night Vale, like anything, has a price. Everything has a price. Be it in money, health, sanity, time, space, or even H&S green stamps. There will always be rewards as well. We all have to perform our own accounting of the pluses and minuses and decide if we want a given thing in our lives. So my answer to the question, is Night Vale worth it, is maybe. Your second question was, is Night Vale good? It is a nexus of terror and strife. It is the perfect maelstrom of nightmares and remorse. A convergence of pure evil and blind ambition ruled by a tangle of conflicted parties trapped in a quagmire of alliances that seek to fulfill their own unknowable goals, the result of which is that every one of us exists in a state of constant peril. My answer to the question, is Night Vale good, is no. Finally, you asked, is it a good town? Please consider the events of the high school play this night. Horrific, dangerous, deadly. Almost every tourist in town was killed, and the few survivors have given us rather unfavorable Yelp reviews. Some of us gave up and surrendered to the wills of others. David Cronenberg, his desire to free his lord and master, is a perfect example. Some of us didn't. Eric Woolley is the counter example. He organized the cast, and they struck back. Our children, the ones who survive, laugh in the face of nightmares. Our town is horrible, but is life any less horrible? Life here is harsh, but we are stronger for it. We are a fierce people. We are a strong people. We are a people who don't know the meaning of the word quit. Or most words for that matter, mostly because we burned all the dictionaries. And that's because knowledge frightens us. Fear makes us stronger. It makes us faster. It sharpens our minds and brings clarity. We are a focused and determined people because of our hardships and fear. If it takes a village to raise a child, then a town is defined by the people it creates. Knowing the people who live here, the answer to the question, is it a good town, could never be anything else but yes. And with that thought, I leave you, dear listener. Good luck, Cecil. I hope you find what you're looking for. And as always, let's try and have a good morning, Night Vale. Good Morning Night Vale Tonight is based on characters and locations from the podcast Welcome to Night Vale, which is the intellectual property of Commonplace Books. If you go visit them, make sure to avoid eye contact. They see that as a sign of aggression. The background music was from stuff that came with my computer, various free use sound bites from across the internet, and Disparation. Eye contact is just fine for them. It's smiling/baring your teeth that's a problem. This episode's coffee break was My Heart Beats Like a Hammer by Here's How, and you can find them on blissblood.com. Mr. Science was read by Cody Wolf, and the rest of the episode was written, produced, and read by Bob.